didn't realize that we had different opinions on what a soul dog is. A soul dog, I feel like, is just a term that the dog community has identified with the dog that is like their soul person, like how a human would have a soulmate in that sense. I thought it would be interesting, or we thought it would be interesting, to share both of our perspectives on just that whole topic of what a soul dog is, but then also you don't have to have one dog that is your soul dog.
But for me, I grew up with a golden retriever named Bubba, RIP. And he was my brother. I had such a close bond with that dog. I mean, he changed my life and he opened my eyes up to the world of dogs and how amazing they are. And then I got Lumi, who is my first dog in my adulthood. Bubba was my childhood dog. Lumi is my baby, like my first dog
Mm-hmm.
that I've taken care of. And I feel like the term soul dog, I don't know if it's just me, but it just puts so much pressure on that dog and you to have this like mutual feeling of like you are the only dog and vice versa person for me, and I can never feel the same way about another dog. Like I don't know why it just like makes me feel sad because I'm like, oh well, I thought Bubba was my soul dog, but then I got Lumi and I have a completely different relationship with him that makes me want to say, oh, that's my soul dog. But I'm like, wait, Bubba was also my soul dog.
So my perspective of it is like back to comparing it to humans is people have all different experiences when they meet the love of their life. I have many friends who met their love of their life when they were in high school or even middle school. You've met Ben at such a young age, and I have different experiences with that. And right now, I would say, obviously, you think Ben is your soulmate. I mean, you don't have to coin it that phrase, but that is the love of your life. And I don't even want to use you as the context anymore. But what if Ben died and at a young age and you
Knock
were
on
to
wood.
find, yeah, knock on wood, sorry, Ben. But this is just how I'm viewing it. But years go by, of course you're going to find somebody else and you're naturally going to compare that person to your past partner, just like I feel like any dog after Chili, I will compare them. I'm not saying that he can only be my soul dog forever. Like there could probably be multiple, but there's so many reasons why Chili, I would say he's my soul dog, but that's also because of the circumstance in which I got him. Like you said with Bubba, when you got him, he helped raise you. He was just like this heart dog. And that's how I feel about Chili because he came in my life at a really trivial part. And I really don't think I would be the same person without him. And I feel like that's what a soul dog means to a lot of people. That
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that they'll never have that again, but they're always going to be comparing it. And I think that's the part that you don't like is that it's
Yeah.
comparing. Yeah.
Exactly. Like it makes me feel sad and almost like anxious that I'm going to be comparing Bubba to Lumi to maybe another dog I get because I definitely do want to get another dog while Lumi is still alive. And I don't know why it really just keeps me up at night. Is that so weird
No,
to
I
say?
get it. No, I get it. This is like what we were talking about when I said I don't think I'll get a dog. Of course, never say never. But I don't think I'll get another dog while Chili's alive because I know what you're talking about as far as the comparing, and I have a fear that I won't love that dog as much as I love Chili, and that's so unfair to that dog. But also, I wouldn't even want to ruin any sort of bond. It's almost become sacred in a way, like mine and Chili's connection, that I've been scared that somebody will break it. And to be quite honest, I feel like that's so untrue because not saying that I was scared that Rich was going to break our connection or anything, but there's a completely other person that I have to dedicate my time to. And it was just Chili and I for so long
Mhm.
that I was definitely worried. And when I would leave him, I was like, oh my God, I'm changing. I'm leaving him. And he doesn't think I love him. Like, so dramatic. But obviously, that's not the case. And they're going to love you regardless. So,
I definitely do want to get another dog while Lumi's here. And, a big reason for that is because Lumi loves dogs so much. And I I know that if I got another dog, it would be for his benefit. Like he would be the best big brother. And I know that he wants that because whenever we see a dog or whenever he has play dates with his friends, I mean, he is like peaking. Like he loves
Yeah.
other dogs. But that, just that term, like it just makes me scared. Like, am I not going to have that connection with the new dog I get because Lumi's my, soul dog? I don't know.
Mhm.
And I guess that's why it bothers me so much. And I honestly, if you can change my mind, I would love that because I know that it's a term that so many people use and that it's supposed to be a heartwarming, good term. But for some reason, my mind just like cannot come around on that.
Are you giving me the challenge?
Yeah,
I mean,
challenge
you
me.
already know the story, but like,
Challenge me,
so for
bitch.
me, so for me, this is how I view Chili in my like. Obviously, I make jokes about Chili all the time, and we have a silly, goofy connection. But there's also like a core of Chili and I that I don't talk about much, and sometimes I feel like it's cheesy almost. But I do know that so many people relate to it. When I decided to get Chili, it was so impromptu. Like, of course, I had thought about getting a dog before, but it wasn't something I really considered. It was more just like cute dogs. I would want one someday. Never took it seriously, but maybe, what is it, 4 months in August of 2019, I had an emergency surgery that I almost lost my life, like hours away from losing my life. And obviously, I'm fine. But in that point in time, I feel like life was just chaotic. Me and Jackie talk about it often. Like we had a difficult childhood for many different reasons, but none of that really seemed that dramatic. Like you deal with something and move on. But this one was like my adult life. I could have died. And I was just looking at myself like, who the fuck am I? And I had tried out so many different, not personalities, but like different versions of myself over time.
Roles
And
almost.
well, yeah, like everybody was always saying my whole life, like, you are so sure of yourself. You're exactly who you are. And I'd be like, who am I? Like, I don't know. Like, the exterior was like, oh, there was party Galen and funny Galen and like yoga Galen and all these things. But I was like, I don't understand what is my life. So I couldn't find it. And then really it was just kind of like fate, which I feel like is also another phrase similar to soul dog, like you believe it or not. Um, when I found a picture of Chili and I brought him home, and my mom loves to tell his story saying that I like called her crying, like, this is the best day. I'm so happy. And before that, I was like not really a crier. And whatever. Fast forward to Chili becoming my entire life. I like learned a lot about myself through Chili. And now I feel like my identity is through Chili. And I feel like that's a huge weight and burden on him. But now at least I know like dogs fulfill my heart and purpose because I started Derpy Danas, which is a dog company. Obviously, I look at dog Instagram all day. I definitely want to do something with dogs. And I didn't even know that I had such a connection to dogs before that. So, although Chili is the reason, I do feel like him being my soul dog allows me to have hopefully more soul dogs down the road because I know what the connection is like to
That's true.
have that with a dog. So it's not saying that he's like when he passes that I will never have this love again. Of course I'm going to compare it to Chili, but that was such a pivotal point in my life. Like I needed him at that point and I couldn't imagine any other dog. Like if he was a fucking nut job dog, it would be so different. Like he just happens to be chill as fuck, which is similar to like you finding your Ben.
Yeah,
Like you are Ben is perfect for you. If you had had a shitty boyfriend and you wouldn't be here 10 years later.
that's true. And I think when you put it that way, of you needed Chili in that moment in time, and that's kind of how you're defining that, term soul dog because he gave you what you needed
Mm-hmm.
when, you know, 5 years ago you were going through that rough time and he gave you the healing that you needed required. I could say the same about Lumi. Like growing up with Goldens, we always had like two at a time, and Bubba was being my first dog after years of me begging for a dog. I honestly thought like, oh, I'll never love a dog like I loved Bubba. But, then I think after I got Lumi, it taught me that, okay, Bubba was my brother, but Lumi is like my son. You know what I mean? Like he's my child. And my first child also. Like he kind of sets the precedent for dogs that I will
Firstborn.
have after him.
Hmm.
And I think that's
Yeah.
totally different. And I think you're right. Like I needed Lumi when at a time where I was mentally struggling. I was living in Seattle with Ben. It was during peak COVID. So nothing was open. No one was socializing. We didn't know a single freaking person in the city. And after getting Lumi in Seattle, we were able to meet people, do more things outside, be occupied with him. And that totally changed my life. And he healed me in ways that I never
Yeah.
thought possible. So yeah, no, I
I
mean maybe the term soul dog is just like different points in your life.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the same reason for people having soulmates. Like, I definitely don't believe that there's one person for every person. I think that there's many different paths that people have to go through. I was watching this movie the other day. It was actually an old movie. Very interesting. I would wonder if anybody has seen this. We hadn't. Both
Very
Rich and I, we watched
interesting.
every. Very interesting, actually. Um, I actually don't remember what it's called.
Good job.
It was. I'll look it up, Av. But fuck, now I need to know what it is. Well, the premise is that people on their wrist had a time in which they're going to meet the love of their life. So if you go into this place, they put it into your wrist, and then it could be blank because the other person doesn't have the time yet, or the other person has it, and then it goes off, and it will be like 18 months and 2 days, and then on that day, you are guaranteed to meet the person that is like your soulmate. And when you make eye contact with them, they both will beep really loud. Really interesting concept. And I was like, that, like, would that eliminate people from going down other paths before then? Like, if you know you're going to meet the love of your life in 18 months, would you like go on a date, hook
No,
up
it's like a waste
spree?
of time.
Exactly. But also, like, the whole point of the movie was like, you're supposed to, as humans, go down many different paths because other people didn't believe in it, or it's not that they didn't believe in it, they just didn't want to do it because they were like, who's to say I won't love this other person? They might not be like the destiny person for me, but I'll love them, and it's a different type of love. And it was really sweet and I liked it. But
5 out of 5.
it 5 out of 5 stars from Galen. But anyway, I do believe that there are different paths. Like, my mom has been married 4 times. The 3 other people sucked balls, but the one now, she wouldn't have known that she was in love with him if she didn't have those 3 other shitty ones. And I think about that all the time. Same with my exes. Would I have appreciated Rich the same? No. And then there's your situation where you have like grown up with Ben, and everything has been perfect for each of your timelines, and there's been a lot of sacrifices.
It's destiny.
Yeah.
Ew, never again. But yeah, honestly, you can compare that to dogs, where at a time in your life, you will need a certain dog for every time period. Like I needed Bubba to get me through, like my parents' divorce, my childhood. And he was there for me through thick and thin. And I, will never be able to thank him enough for it because, of course, dogs love unconditionally and they don't know how much you impact them. And after thinking, oh, I'll never have that kind of love again, here we are,
Mm-hmm.
a couple years later, where Lumi has impacted me like no other dog has, got me through a pandemic, got me through 2 moves and an engagement. Like he has been
Well,
with
and you
me
guys
through.
live in the city
Yeah,
where that's like a really hard place, I feel like, for dogs to live, unless like it's
they grow up.
they could have a lot of different issues, and you do a lot with him in there, and you guys just happened to move there when you got him. But if he was a completely different dog, there would be so many different aspects to it that would have been more stressful. I feel like a lot of it comes down to just how compatible you guys are in your life. And of course, dogs adapt to what your schedule is, but I do feel like there's an underlying just personality trait that makes up for that term soul dog, because you can have a connection with every dog. They're amazing and they're going to love you no matter what. But I think that Chili is like perfect for me and Lumi is perfect for you.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I was going to have Goldens the rest of my life. And here I am with probably one of the opposites of a Golden.
Yeah.
Like Lumi and Chili are so different. And we'll talk about that in another episode. But I mean, like when they hang out, we're just like, they're like not even dogs together. Like they're just on
No.
the complete opposite sides of the spectrum. But that's what makes them both so amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, back on track. But yeah, like I thought I was going to have Goldens forever and I got a completely different breed of dog and that breed of dog also matches me 100%. And now I'm like, "Oh my god, I can't picture getting any other type of dog, but that's going to
Yeah.
change because I will." And
Yeah.
you know, you like you were saying how we go down many different paths as humans. We do with dogs as well, where each dog, no matter the type, will match our lifestyles and our personalities to make what we call a soul dog. And I think I'm trying to warm up to that term more. I mean, besides the
Did I
fact that I
change your
want to,
mind?
like, you're like, you're like 40% there. Like, you're
That's it?
like, you,
I feel like
before
you're
I
like
was like,
65.
before I was like 10%. You just accomplished a lot in like, what, 15 minutes? Give yourself a pat on the damn back, dumb bitch. Anyway, so I definitely think that there can be more than one soul dog. I think that's what I was struggling with before. I was like, well, does that mean that there's only one soul dog? Like that makes
We're
me
not fucking swans. When I think of
swans.
I'm like, fucking swans. There's this sad ass swan that swims around all by itself. Something must have happened to his wife, but he's not looking at any other swans. It's so sad. Sorry, Chili. Like, I definitely won't be that, like, if, when Chili passes, you guys will have to send me into a mental institution for sure. But when I come out and I've been in my grief rehab, I will definitely get another dog.
Yeah.
So I won't be a fucking swan.
Yeah, you listen, we're not penguins. We're not
Oh, penguins
swans.
do it too?
Yeah, penguins mate for life.
Oh.
We're not penguins, we're not swans. I understand that there's more than one soulmate in life, or some believe that. I know everyone has differing opinions on it. But I think I just want to believe that there can be more than one soul dog because the pressure of only having one like freaks me out. And that's why that term, when people say like, oh my God, like my soul dog, my heart dog, I'm like, wait, but what about like the other dog you have or like another dog you'll get? Like I see people with multiple dogs, you know, single out one and say, oh, like my soul dog. And I'm like, what about like the other two? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, I don't know why that makes me so sad. If anyone else feels that way, comment.
That does make me sad too. But I feel like if they have multiple and they say that about that dog, hopefully they don't mean it like to like a crazy extent where they give that one more attention or anything. But I feel like it's probably something, like I said, whenever they got that dog, something pivotal happened, or like I just feel like a lot of the time it's tragedy or like sadness that helps. And that's why I feel like the term is so big right now, is because so many dogs were gotten around COVID, like you said.
Yeah,
of course,
Lumi was.
I got Chili right before COVID too, but I kind of correlate him being my soul dog for the other reason I said. But of course, yeah, COVID, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have him during that time. But I didn't ever really feel the gravity of COVID, because he was like fixing me and my other problems. Like I was like figuring out my life, to be quite honest. And we were also in Florida, like it almost is as if it was not existent there.
True.
But I do understand why people are like feel that way towards their dogs right now, and they're like getting their dogs in the early 20s and stuff. And now they're having kids and there's still this huge attachment. Oh my gosh, I just realized that we never talked about my conspiracy that I talked about in the first episode when I was like, one day we'll talk about my
Oh
conspiracy.
yeah.
I'll touch on it for a second. Um, why didn't we ever talk about it? Whatever. It's not even that big of a deal.
Because we have like
But
the memories of fireflies. Like, I don't know.
do they have memories?
Exactly, Galen. We don't
okay.
fucking have
Gotcha.
a short-term
Gotcha.
memory.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Gotcha.
It's a Monday, everyone.
Okay. It's not.
Oh shit.
Okay, anyway,
go.
my little conspiracy, or it's literally not a conspiracy. I don't know why I would say that. Is there's all these people who got their dogs during COVID in their 20s, or I don't know if it's all 20s, but that's how I view it. At least on dog Instagram. Dog Instagram became popular around COVID, and then they're obviously going to have kids and they're going to have different lives. And I really believe that there's going to be a correlation between the kids growing up with these quote unquote soul dogs and their compassion in some way. Like the world is really fucked up right now. And I truly think that there's so many people that have gotten dogs, that are rescuing dogs. The amount of dog prevalent things that are out in the world right now is so heavy. And it's definitely because of social media. And I feel like that makes people more, not emotional, what's the word? Like empathy and
Like sensitive?
care and love. Like people are actually experiencing love. They're treating their dogs like children, and then they're having actual children. So it's almost teaching them how to be a parent in a different way.
Oh yeah.
And then these kids are going to grow up with those firstborn doggies, and like they're going to be completely different people because we never really had that. Nobody ever had these dog children before them.
These dogs.
So I think that there's going to be a generation of like humanitarians or something, like with a bunch of empathy. I hope.
God can only hope.
Because I said it, it's going to happen, obviously.
Let's manifest that. No, I mean, that is a good point, though. Like, compared to when our parents grew up, yeah, dogs mainly just stayed outside. They had dog houses, and that's where they slept. Or if they didn't, they slept in the house. But there wasn't companies where you could buy dog clothes or, personalized dog bowls with special effects where it would give them water and food at certain times. Like, yeah, the dog market just wasn't as big back then. So like it makes sense that, as we're growing up, there are going to be more and more people who treat their dogs like kids and who, want to start rescues, starting nonprofits and just being more conscious of how we treat not only people, but animals.
But like, that's so sad that there's been these creatures on Earth for so long, and only now we're like, little baby.
Yeah, like now we're putting them in, rocking chairs and getting them their own monogrammed beds. And meanwhile, my grandpa will call me and be like, why are you getting Lumi another vest for the winter when he has his fur? And I'm like, because it's fashionable, bitch.
Grandpa.
Like, of course, he needs to have his own wardrobe. Yeah, no, we're on a totally different track than our parents and grandparents were.
Yesterday, I met this woman in my apartment complex who, I don't know how old she is, maybe 60s. But she had a lab that I never really saw because he was older. She said that he passed at 13. And so she has this new 8-week lab puppy. And of course, I was talking to the puppy. But she was just asking me questions about Chile and whatever. And she was like, yeah, it's been really hard for me, of course, obviously. And she's saying that her family wasn't understanding that she was so sad and crying all the time.
After the dog passed away.
Yeah, after the first dog passed away, because she's in her 60s. She's seen a lot of people go, and they were like, we've never seen you so sad. And I'm sure she doesn't have Instagram and stuff. Like, we talk about this and we understand, and that makes sense to us. She was like, I don't get why they don't understand, because I'm with this dog all the time, and like he's been through 13 years of my life, and I live in an apartment with him. I see him every corner I go. And I was like, yeah, I know I make jokes about this online. But it's interesting to see a different generation who's connected to their dogs so much, because now taking care of your dogs is like very important to people. And I'm not saying she never did, but she's probably retired now and is with her dog day in, day out. And it's like a tragic loss that she like needed another dog immediately to fill that void because she was completely lost and so much of her family and generation just doesn't understand. And I feel
Yeah.
like at least now we all can like band together what we talked about with Chris, Hammy, and Olivia, how everybody was just telling him their stories and
Outpouring
supporting,
love. Yeah.
yeah, supporting him. I see that all the time now. There's that dog that with the girl with the golden. It's like Mackenzie Kane or something.
I don't know.
Her oh, she's on TikTok. Her golden was like 15 and passed away, but she
Wow.
was taking him on all these adventures because she knew obviously the time is coming. And I just for like a day or two saw so much love of
Wow.
people being like, I don't even know this dog, and I'm so sad.
Yeah. It's honestly a lot nicer and super comforting that, our generation is, I mean, it seems like our generation is very much on the same page where dogs are our other children and they matter just as much. And we're going
Yeah,
to grieve
if not
them,
more.
if not more. And we're going to grieve them, like it's super comforting to know that like our generation really values the connection we have to our pets,
Yeah.
you know, unlike the generations before us. And I'm not saying that they didn't obviously have those connections, but it's just different now. Like it's just so
Yeah.
different.
And I think back to the whole phrase of soul dog is like, it doesn't mean that there's gonna just be one. It's our generation is experiencing this love that I feel like we haven't even heard about before. And then that's what seems so,
Or we kind of coined it for a dog, like for
yeah,
our pets.
yeah. And that doesn't mean that there's just one, but it means whatever dog is in front of you, you're like, holy shit, I've never felt like this before. And that's at least how I view it. Pretty much this whole episode was me convincing Jackie, but also making you guys feel better that there's not just one, similar to the phrase, like those, what I already forgot the phrase. What do we call it?
What? Soulmate?
Soulmate. Okay, gotcha. Anyway,
All right, so we're going to end this episode with a new little segment. We're still trying to come up with the name, but me and Galen are gonna ask each other some reflecting questions about the topic. But I guess
hit me.
what is one thing that Chili has helped you with the most through your difficult past?
I would say maybe empathy. Not saying I didn't have empathy before, but even empathy for myself because anything that used to happen growing up that might be hard, I feel like I would easily disconnect from it and be like, whatever, it's fine, like laugh it off, which I feel like there's health to that in some aspect, but I never was able to reflect on anything before.
Almost
And
like be
with
kind
Chili,
to yourself.
yeah, because Chili is so kind. Like he literally looks at me like I'm the most amazing person ever. And that seems really awesome. Like that makes you feel so fucking great. Like we were on a walk the other day and I couldn't tell what he wanted. He just kept looking back at me and I'm like, "What? Like what do you want?" And he's just like, "I love you." In the middle of the woods that I took him to. I'm thinking like this is the highlight of his day, but he just wants to be with me and that's super awesome, which I don't know, it just made me a little bit more emotional where before I feel like I was more detached from like life being
Yeah, or
like
like yourself.
yeah, like things happen, it's fucking fine. I feel like I was just a lot more rigid and now I'm like I can sit with him for a long period of time and literally just pet him and appreciate whatever he's looking at. Like he'll be looking at the lake for 40 minutes and I'm like, you're just living your best life, bro, which I'll go sit with him because I want to be with him and then it allows me a time of reflection, which I never would allow myself because like life, the grind, gotta
Mhm.
gotta live your life and do what you gotta do.
No, he taught you
Which
how to be like kinder to yourself and like really
yeah.
just take in every moment.
Yeah, because they're angels. If you had gotten a golden instead of a Samoyed when you had gotten Lumi, what do you think would have been different?
um, that's interesting. I think, um, and this is not at all bashing any breed in any way, but I mean, it's just a fact. Like Samoyeds are just more stubborn. Like they're just a more stubborn breed. They're not as easy to please, and they're not really trying to please you as much, you know, versus a golden who is at your beck and call and wants to please its parent. So I think what would be really different is I just wouldn't have had to almost work as hard in terms of like training.
Yeah.
I feel like Goldens are just very easy to train. And, you know, this is also saying like it's hard to train a dog, period. But
Hmm.
I just know from experience from having Goldens growing up and then having a Samoyed, like it is a total change, like day and night. Lumi and I know a lot of other Samoyeds are just stubborn little shits who don't want to listen and they have a mind of their own. And that made me work harder, work more creatively, and also think more about okay, like how can I get through to this dog? How can I further bond with this dog in a completely different way than I have with my past Goldens? And I feel like
Wait,
that's
I just made a realization I've never really thought about. You're very goal oriented. Like you are always asking me like, what's your next goal and stuff. And I'm
yeah.
like, I don't know. I just like go with the wind. And I feel like you getting Lumi like gave you the ultimate goal. And especially during COVID when there's what goal were you to going to reach, you were like, let's train. And you talked about it during Puppy Blues too, like potty training him and,
Oh my God.
you
No,
know,
that's actually, I never thought about that. That's crazy. But no, you're right. Like, I am very goal oriented. I'm just someone who loves the grind because I love achieving the goals that I set for myself. And I think with the Samoyed, I did so many training classes. I trained Lumi myself literally like within the first day we got him, like I was already training him. I had already signed up for an online class. When I moved to New York, I had already signed up for a class every 2 months. Like that was my goal because I knew that Lumi was going to be harder to train than any golden I've had. And yeah, like I was right. Like he was a pain in the ass, but
yeah.
it also made it more rewarding because when he would learn things or listen to me, I was like, oh my God, like I did that. Like I worked really fucking hard
Yeah.
and I earned it. And like now our bond is stronger because we both worked really hard to get there. And I think that's what is so different about a Samoyed than a Golden. And I think that's why me and Lumi's relationship is so different, but also so strong, is because like we've worked so hard together and we still are. Um,
But that goes back to the soul dog thing because if I had gotten a Samoyed, I don't know shit about Samoyeds, but if I had gotten it, I would have been like too challenged, and that's not what I needed at that time. Like maybe when I get older, I want a challenge, but that would be
yeah.
so not good for me at that time.
No, you're right. Like at the time in my life when I got Lumi, like I needed something to challenge me and I needed something to bring me out of my comfort zone. And from getting a totally different dog than a golden, that that allowed me to get that challenge I needed and to have a completely different bond with a dog that I had never had before. And like that's why I think Lumi is my soul dog because like I'm able to have this super special bond I've never had with any dog.
Yeah. Yay, we sold her on it.
You sold me on it. Thanks, bitch.